The city of Zerath was always full of noise. Tall alien buildings touched the skies. Lights blinked from every wall and thousands of feet marched across the wide stone streets. But in the middle of all that sound, there was one small figure lying on the cold ground. Forgotten, weak, and almost invisible. She was just a girl. Her skin carried strange silver patterns. Her eyes glowed faintly with violet light and her hair fell like broken threads over her face. But her legs were twisted, useless. She could not walk. Every time she tried to crawl forward, her hands scraped against the rough stones, leaving small trails of blood behind. The crowd around her did not stop. Aliens of every shape and size walked past her. Some had tall horns, some had wings, others had shining metal parts, but not a single one of them bent down to help. Many even looked away as if her suffering was an ugly stain they refused to see. Whispers moved like poison in the air.
She is broken. She cannot work, cannot fight, cannot serve. Better if she disappears. The girl heard every word.
She pressed her face into the ground to hide her tears. Her body shook with pain, but her heart shook harder with shame. She was tired of crawling, tired of being ignored. In that endless city of thousands, not one soul cared whether she lived or died. And then, shadows fell over her. At first, she thought it was just another cruel alien ready to laugh at her. But when she lifted her eyes, she froze. The figure standing there was not like the others. It was a human. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his uniform dusty from long travel. His eyes, unlike the cold stares of the aliens, were sharp, alive, and strangely warm. His boots stopped right in front of her trembling body. For a long moment, he said nothing. He only looked at her. The girl's breath caught in her throat. Nobody had ever truly looked at her before. Not like this. She wanted to crawl away, but her broken legs betrayed her. The human knelt down. His voice was low, steady, and carried a strange strength. "Do you need help?" Her lips trembled. She wanted to say yes, but her throat was too dry, her body too weak. Only a small sound came out like a broken whisper. The human's eyes softened. He reached out his hand slowly, giving her time to refuse. But she didn't pull away. For the first time in years, someone's touch was gentle. His hand was warm against her cold skin. Around them, the crowd stirred. Aliens muttered, confused and disgusted. "Why is he stopping? She is worthless." Humans are strange. They care for the weak. It is foolish, but the human ignored them. Without another word, he slid his arms under the girl's fragile body and lifted her. She gasped, shocked by the sudden feeling of safety, as if the world's cruelty had finally been pushed away. She was light, far too light, and he could feel her bones through her torn clothes. Yet when he held her, she fit against his chest as if she had always belonged there. Gasps spread through the street. "A human is carrying her. This will bring trouble. Does he not know the law? She is not worth saving." The human turned his head, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. His voice rang out strong and unshaken. "Every life is worth saving." The aliens went silent. His words cut through the noise of the city like a blade. Some looked away in shame. Others curled their lips in disgust. But none dared to step forward. The girl's heart pounded in her chest. Her world had been cold, empty, hopeless. Yet in one moment it had changed. Someone cared. Someone was willing to fight the crowd just to lift her from the dirt. Her small hands clung weakly to his shirt. She could barely believe this was real. As the human carried her through the streets, the whispers followed. "Humans are dangerous, but maybe, no, this is madness. Perhaps kindness is their true weapon." The girl pressed her face against his shoulder, hiding her tears. For the first time in forever, she was not afraid of being stepped on, ignored, or left behind. For the first time, she felt what it was like to belong in someone's arms. The city kept moving, the crowd kept staring, but neither of them cared. The girl had been forgotten by everyone, but now she had been chosen by someone who refused to walk away. And deep inside, the human's eyes burned with a promise. He would not let her be forgotten again. The human walked steadily through the crowded streets, the alien girl trembling in his arms. Every step he took made the onlookers whisper louder. The crowd's voices were like cold knives stabbing from every direction. "Put her down. She is useless. This will only bring him trouble." But his grip only tightened. He had made a decision the moment he bent down and saw her broken body. He could not leave her behind, not now, not ever. His name was Captain Elias Ward. though most in the alien city only called him the human soldier. To them, he was a stranger. To her, he was the first person who had seen her as more than a burden. The girl's head rested weakly on his shoulder. Her breaths were shallow, her eyes half closed. She whispered in a voice so small that even he could barely hear. Why are you doing this? No one else ever cared. Elias glanced down at her. For a brief moment, his hard soldier's face softened. Because leaving you would make me no different from them. The girl blinked, her violet eyes wide. No one had ever spoken words like that to her. No one had ever chosen her. As they moved forward, 3 alien guards stepped out from the crowd, blocking the path. Their armor glinted under the city lights, and their long weapons hummed with dangerous energy. The tallest guard sneered, his voice sharp. Human, you will release that girl. She is broken. She is a waste of space. By law, she belongs to no one. Elias shifted his stance, holding the girl firmly with one arm while resting his other hand on the side of his belt, where his pistol hung. His eyes were steady, his voice calm but edged with steel. She belongs to herself, and as long as I breathe, no one touches her. The crowd gasped. No alien had ever heard such defiance. The guard's eyes narrowed. They were not used to being challenged. One of them stepped closer, raising his weapon. Humans think they are saviors. You think kindness is strength. But here weakness is death. Put her down before you share her fate. The girl stirred in his arms, fear trembling through her voice. Please, don't fight them. They'll kill you. Elias looked at her, then at the guards. His jaw tightened. He could fight. He could draw his weapon, show them why humans were feared across the stars. But deep down he knew this wasn't the moment for violence. Instead, he took a deep breath and stepped forward, his voice loud enough for the whole street to hear. Strength is not stepping on the weak. Strength is lifting them up. If you cannot see that, then you are already weaker than me. The words struck harder than any weapon. For a moment, the guards faltered. Around them, the crowd murmured. Some aliens sneered, but others looked away in shame. For the first time, they questioned the cruelty they had accepted as normal. The guards exchanged uncertain glances. Their authority was strong, but the human's presence was stronger. His gaze burned with something they could not understand, a fire that came not from power but from compassion. With a sharp growl, the lead guard stepped aside. Go, human, but do not think this kindness will save you. This city will turn against you. Elias did not respond. He only walked past them, his shoulders squared, his head high. The girl clung to him, her small hands clutching his uniform tightly. She whispered, tears shining in her eyes. You risk everything. Just for me. He gave her a faint smile, though his voice remained firm. Sometimes one choice can change everything. Maybe not the whole world, but at least your world. The path ahead opened into a darker part of the city, far from the glowing towers and crowded markets. Here the streets were quiet, broken and forgotten, just like her. Elias searched the shadows until he found what he needed, an abandoned shelter, half collapsed but safe enough for the night. He stepped inside, setting her down gently on a worn blanket he had carried in his pack. She winced, her body still weak, but for the first time in years she was resting in safety. He knelt beside her, pulling out a small ration pack and a bottle of water. He held it out. Eat, drink, you'll need your strength. She stared at the food as if it was treasure. Her hands shook as she accepted it, her lips trembling. No one has ever given me anything. Elias studied her for a moment. He saw not just weakness but survival. She had lived through cruelty, abandonment, and pain, and yet she was still here. Still breathing. You've been stronger than all of them, he said softly. But now you don't have to be alone. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were not only from pain. They were from hope, fragile, trembling, but real. Outside, the whispers of the city continued. Rumors spread quickly. The human defied the guards. The human carried the broken girl. Perhaps humans are not what we thought. But inside that small shelter, none of it mattered. For the first time, the forgotten girl had been seen. For the first time, someone had chosen her life over silence. And as the night fell over Zarath, Elias Ward sat awake by the door, his weapon ready, his decision clear. He would protect her. No matter what the city, the guards, or the galaxy thought, this was his choice and he would never turn back. The night in Zarath was heavy. The alien city never truly slept. Bright towers still glowed with blue and red light. But in the narrow streets below, shadows stretched like claws. Elias carried the girl close to his chest as he moved forward, his boots echoing against the stone. The girl stirred weakly. Her violet eyes opened just enough to see the endless roads around them. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "Somewhere safe," Elias said, though his voice was low and careful. "We just need to get through the streets first." Her fragile fingers clutched his shirt. The fear in her eyes was not of the dark, but of the people who lived in it. She knew what would happen if the wrong aliens saw her. Broken ones like her were not meant to be saved. They were meant to disappear. As if on cue, a shadowy group appeared ahead. 4 aliens stepped out of the alleys, their bodies tall and sharp, their eyes glowing like embers. They wore no armor, but their weapons were clear, long blades strapped across their backs. Their voices dripped with mockery. "Human," one of them hissed. "Still carrying that broken thing?" Another alien spat on the ground. "Do you know what she is worth? Nothing." "You waste your strength." Elias stopped walking. His muscles tensed, his jaw tightened, but his grip on the girl never faltered. He scanned their faces, their movements. These were not guards. These were predators, scavengers who fed on the weak. The girl buried her face against his shoulder, whispering, "Please, just leave me. They'll hurt you because of me." Elias's reply was steady, almost a growl. "I don't leave people behind." The aliens laughed. Their voices filled the street. "Look at him. A human savior. Let's see how long that kindness lasts." One stepped forward, reaching out as if to grab the girl. Elias shifted instantly, turning his body so her fragile frame was shielded. His free hand rested on his weapon, but he did not draw it yet. His voice cut through the laughter like a blade. "Step back." The alien paused, surprised at the calm command in his tone. "Or what?" he sneered. Elias's eyes narrowed. "Or I show you why humans are not to be tested." For a tense moment, silence filled the air. The scavengers looked at one another, deciding if the human's warning was bluff or truth. Then 2 of them stepped back, uncertain. They had heard the stories of humans who could tear through armies when pushed too far. But the leader was stubborn. He pointed his blade, anger twisting his face. "Kindness makes you weak. You'll regret this choice." Elias's hand tightened around his pistol. His body angled, ready to fight, but then something unexpected happened. From the corner of the street, a small crowd of ordinary aliens began to gather. Not guards, not scavengers, just people. They had heard the rumors, the human who carried the broken girl. Now they stood watching. Some with disgust, some with quiet curiosity, a few with hidden admiration. The scavenger leader saw the crowd and cursed under his breath. He wanted blood, but with so many eyes watching, killing the human now would bring questions he did not want. He growled, stepping back slowly. "This city will crush you," he warned, his voice bitter. "And when it does, she will drag you down with her." Elias said nothing. He simply shifted the girl higher in his arms and walked past, never lowering his gaze. The scavengers melted back into the alleys, but their threat lingered in the night air. The girl trembled. "You shouldn't have. They'll come back." Elias looked down at her, his voice firm but not unkind. "Let them. I've walked through worse." Her heart ached at his words. She could not understand why he risked so much for someone like her. But even as fear pulled at her, a small spark of warmth grew inside her chest. Perhaps she was worth saving after all. They continued walking. The streets grew quieter, the lights dimmer. The city's grand towers faded into the distance as they entered the broken outskirts. Every corner felt heavy with danger. Every step tested his resolve. But Elias never slowed, never faltered. Finally, they reached an old archway leading out of the main district. Its stones were cracked, vines climbing through the gaps. Beyond it, the city was less guarded, but also more lawless. Elias paused, adjusting the girl gently in his arms. "Almost there," he said. "Just a little longer." She looked up at him, her voice soft. Why do you keep saying we? You could leave me and be safe." Elias's eyes met hers, and for the first time his expression softened into something almost like a smile. "Because from the moment I picked you up, it was never just me. It's us now." Her throat tightened. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they were not from pain. They were from something she had not felt in years. Hope. As they stepped through the archway, the whispers of the crowd followed them. Some mocked. Some doubted, but some wondered. The dangerous walk was far from over. Enemies would return. Shadows would follow. and the city would not forget the human's defiance. But for the girl, each step carried in his arms was a step away from being forgotten, and for Elias Ward, the path ahead was clear. He had chosen to carry her, not just through the streets of Zerath, but through whatever dangers the galaxy placed before them. No matter how dangerous the walk became, he would not let go. The night air in Zerath's outskirts was cold and thin. The tall towers were far behind now, their glowing lights nothing more than distant stars. Here the streets were cracked, houses broken, and silence ruled. Elias Ward kept walking until his breath turned into clouds in the night air. The girl in his arms was almost asleep, her head heavy against his shoulder. She had not eaten, had not rested, and her weak body was finally surrendering to exhaustion. At last, he found what he was searching for, a small abandoned shelter made of stone and metal scraps. Its roof was half collapsed, but one room still stood strong against the wind. Elias pushed the door open with his boot and stepped inside. The place smelled of dust and old iron. Broken furniture lay scattered, but there was enough space to lay her down. Carefully, he set her on a blanket he had pulled from his pack. The girl stirred, her eyes opening slightly. Her voice was soft, fragile as glass. Why here? Elias crouched beside her, scanning the walls, the ceiling, every shadow. His soldier's eyes missed nothing. Only after he was sure it was safe did he answer. Because it's quiet. Because no one will find us here. Her lips curved into a weak smile, almost unbelieving. Safe. I don't remember what that feels like. He pulled a small packet of dried food and a flask of water from his pack. Kneeling down, he opened them and offered the water first. Drink. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. The first sip made her cough, but she kept drinking, desperate for more. Then she looked at the food. Simple rations, tasteless, but to her it was like a feast. She ate slowly, afraid it might vanish if she rushed. Elias watched her in silence. He didn't push, didn't speak, didn't demand. He only sat nearby, making sure every bite reached her mouth. When she was done, she leaned back against the blanket, her body a little less tense, her eyes a little more alive. She stared at him, confusion in her gaze. No one has ever done this for me. Not even once. Why do you? Elias met her eyes. His face was rough, tired, but steady. Because someone should have. Her throat tightened and she looked away quickly. Tears slid down her cheeks without her permission. She hated crying, but this time she couldn't stop. For so long she had been invisible, worthless. Now, someone was sitting beside her, feeding her, guarding her. After a long silence, she whispered, "Do humans always help the weak?" Elias leaned back against the wall, folding his arms. His voice was quiet. Not always, but they should. Where I come from, we believe strength means protecting, not crushing. She turned her head, watching him. But the others, they said kindness is weakness. He gave a faint, dry smile. They're wrong. Kindness is a strength most of them are too afraid to use. The girl's violet eyes shone in the dim light. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe his words were true. Silence filled the shelter, but it wasn't the heavy silence of fear. It was softer, almost peaceful. The girl lay back, her body relaxing for the first time in years. Her breathing grew slower, her eyes heavier. Elias stayed awake. He didn't move, didn't sleep. He sat near the door, his pistol within reach, his ears sharp for every sound outside. The city's dangers were still there, lurking, waiting. But as long as he was alive, nothing would touch her. Hours passed. The girl stirred in her half-sleep, whispering broken words. Sometimes she whimpered, sometimes she cried out softly, trapped in nightmares of her past. Each time, Elias's steady voice cut through her dreams. "You're safe. I'm here. Rest." And each time she settled again. By dawn, weak sunlight crept through the cracks in the walls. The girl blinked awake, her body stiff but less heavy than before. She saw Elias still there sitting guard, his eyes red from staying awake. "You didn't sleep?" she asked. He shook his head. "Didn't need to." Her lips curved into something small but real. "Thank you." "Human." He tilted his head. "Elias, my name is Elias." She hesitated, then whispered, "I'm Kara." The name felt fragile on her tongue, as if she had almost forgotten it after years of being called nothing. "Kara," Elias repeated, the sound firm and grounding. "That's your name. Don't let anyone take it from you." Her chest ached, but not from pain this time, from hope. Outside, the city stirred again, full of whispers and danger. Rumors about the human and the broken girl spread further each hour. The guards would not forget, the scavengers would not forgive, and the powerful would not stay silent. But inside that shelter, something new was born. A fragile bond, a spark of trust. Kara had been carried, fed, and protected. Elias had chosen to stay, to risk everything for her. And for the first time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, her life mattered. The days in the ruined shelter passed slowly. Outside, the city of Zerath was alive with endless noise. Markets, guards, whispers of cruelty. But inside those cracked walls, the world felt smaller, softer. For the first time in years, Kara was not crawling through dirt or begging for scraps. She was lying on a blanket, weak but safe. And for the first time, she was not alone. Elias Ward kept his promise. He stayed near her, always alert. At night, he sat by the door, listening for footsteps in the dark. During the day, he gathered what little supplies he could, always returning with food or water. He never left her unguarded for long. Kara watched him silently. Sometimes her eyes followed him when he thought she was asleep. She saw the way his shoulders never relaxed, the way his hand always hovered near his weapon, the way his eyes scanned every shadow. He was a man who carried the weight of battles unseen. One afternoon, as dim sunlight filtered through a broken wall, Elias placed a bowl of water beside her. "Drink. You need to keep your strength." She nodded weakly and lifted it with trembling hands. The water spilled a little and she flushed with embarrassment. But Elias didn't scold or sigh. He simply steadied the bowl with one large hand and said, "Easy. You're doing fine." The words struck her harder than she expected. "You're doing fine." No one had ever said that to her. After a long silence, she whispered, "Why do you not hate me?" Elias looked at her, his brows furrowed. "Why would I hate you?" "Because I can't walk," she said softly, staring at her twisted legs. "Because I am broken. Everyone says so." Elias leaned back against the wall, folding his arms. His voice was steady, low like stone. "You are not broken. You are alive. That is enough." Her throat tightened and she looked away quickly. Tears threatened to fall, but she bit her lip to stop them. She had lived so long being told she was worthless that hearing the opposite felt almost painful. That night she dreamed again. Dreams of the street, of being kicked aside, of cold voices saying she was nothing. She woke with a cry, shaking. Elias was already beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "You're safe," he said simply. She looked at him, her eyes wide and wet. "Why do you always say that?" "Because you need to hear it," he replied. The silence after that was heavy, but it was not empty. It was full of something new, something she didn't yet understand. Over the next days, Kara began to speak more. She told him fragments of her life, how she had been abandoned in the streets as a child, how no one claimed her, how her legs had failed her long ago. She spoke in small pieces, as if each memory was a shard of glass cutting her tongue. Elias listened. He never interrupted, never pitied, never turned away. When she finished, his only reply was, "They were wrong to leave you. That's on them, not you." She blinked at him, confused. "But if everyone believes the same thing, doesn't it make it true?" Elias shook his head. His voice was rough but sure. "Truth doesn't change just because a crowd repeats a lie." Her heart ached, but this time it was not from shame. It was from a strange, fragile warmth growing inside her. Sometimes they sat in silence for hours. Elias would clean his weapon or repair small scraps of gear, while Kara watched quietly. Sometimes she asked about Earth, about humans, what is it like? She whispered one evening. Elias glanced at her. Different. Green fields, oceans, storms, families. She tilted her head. Families? A place where you belong. People who protect you no matter what. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I've never had that. Elias paused, then looked directly at her. You have it now. Kara froze. The words hung in the air, sinking into her chest like fire and ice. She could not reply. She only lowered her eyes, tears blurring her vision, and whispered, Thank you. That night, when Elias sat guard by the door, Kara lay awake, staring at the cracked ceiling. For the first time, her dreams were not filled with pain. Instead, she dreamed of walking in a place full of green fields, with a human soldier beside her. The silent bond between them had been built not with loud promises or dramatic gestures, but with quiet acts, food shared, nightmares soothed, words spoken at the right moment. And though neither of them said it aloud, they both felt the same truth. They were no longer two broken souls in a cruel city. They were something else now, something stronger. The city of Zerath never stayed silent. Its streets carried voices like rivers carried water. Word spread faster than fire. And now one rumor was on every tongue. The human carried a broken girl through the streets. At first, many laughed. He is a fool. Humans are strange. Who risks everything for nothing? But soon the laughter turned into questions. Why would a human help her? What does he see in her that we cannot? The whispers reached every corner. Markets, taverns, even the guards' halls. Some dismissed it as madness. Others felt a sting of shame. A few felt something more dangerous. Curiosity. Kara, lying inside the shelter, did not hear all of it. But she felt it. Every time Elias returned from gathering supplies, his face was heavier, his steps slower. They're talking about us, aren't they? She asked one evening, her voice trembling. Elias set down a bag of food and water, avoiding her eyes. Yes, her heart sank. They'll come for me. He finally looked at her. They'll come for both of us. But I'll be ready. Kara pressed her lips together. The world had always hated her, but this was worse. Now it hated him too because of her. That night when Elias left to scout the streets, Kara sat alone in the dark. Her thoughts twisted like knives. She whispered to herself, maybe I should leave. Maybe he'll be safer without me. But when Elias returned, he found her sitting upright, her eyes wet. He knelt in front of her and spoke firmly. Don't even think it. She flinched. Think what? That leaving me will protect me. It won't. You're not my burden, Kara. You're my choice. Her breath caught. No one had ever said such words to her. My choice. It echoed inside her like a forgotten melody. Outside the shelter, the city grew restless. Groups of aliens whispered near the streets where Elias had walked. Some watched the shelter from a distance, their eyes glowing in the dark. One merchant muttered, if the human changes how people see weakness, our laws will break. Another hissed, better end it now, kill them both before others begin to believe. But not everyone wanted blood. In hidden corners, a few quiet voices began to rise. Maybe the human is right. Maybe strength is not cruelty. Maybe we've been wrong all this time. These whispers spread like cracks in glass, small but dangerous. Elias noticed the changes. He could feel the city's eyes on him, heavier each day. Still, he never showed fear in front of Kara. He would smile faintly, place food in her hands and say, eat. You need to grow stronger. One morning, Kara asked softly, why do you keep doing this, even when the whole city hates you? Elias leaned against the wall, his gaze steady. Because kindness doesn't stop being right just because others hate it. Kara lowered her head, her chest aching with something new. She wanted to believe him. She wanted his words to be true not just for her, but for the whole city. The days passed and the rumors grew sharper. Some claimed Elias was dangerous, plotting to change the city's order. Others claimed the girl was not broken at all, but cursed, that the human carried a demon. The guards began to argue among themselves. Some wanted to arrest him immediately. Others whispered they should wait, for fear of what humans might do if provoked. For the first time in years, Kara's existence mattered. But not because she was seen as worthless, because she was now a symbol of defiance, of kindness, of danger. One night, as the wind howled through the broken roof, Elias sat sharpening his knife. Kara watched him, her voice trembling. Elias, are you afraid? He paused, looking at her carefully. I've been afraid before. Fear isn't the problem. What you do with it is. And what will you do? She asked. He sheathed the knife slowly. I'll stand, for you. For us. Her eyes burned with tears. She wanted to argue, to tell him it wasn't worth it, but she couldn't. Because deep inside, a small voice whispered, maybe I'm worth it after all. The city of Zerath was changing. In its dark alleys, in its crowded halls, the human's choice was turning into something larger than both of them. And though neither Elias nor Kara could see it yet, their silent bond had already become a spark strong enough to light a fire that no rumor could ever kill. The first rays of dawn touched the ruined shelter. Pale light slid across the cracked walls, soft and golden. Kara lay awake, her eyes tracing the glow. It was different from every morning she had ever known. For the first time, she did not wake to cold stone or cruel voices. She woke to safety. Elias was already awake, sitting near the door with his weapon across his lap. He had barely slept in days, but his eyes were steady. When Kara stirred, he looked at her with quiet strength. "You slept," he said simply. She gave a small smile. "Because I knew you were here." He nodded once, almost like a soldier acknowledging a battle won. But his gaze lingered on her legs, twisted and weak. Something inside him tightened. He had carried her through crowds, through shadows, through danger. But what he wanted now was different. He wanted her to stand, to see herself not as broken but as alive. That morning he made a decision. "Kara," he said firmly, "you're going to try." Her brows furrowed.
Try what?
To stand, her heart pounded. She shook her head quickly. "No, I can't, my legs, they won't." Elias leaned closer, his voice calm but unyielding. "Then they'll learn, slowly, step by step. You've carried pain for years. Now let me carry hope for you." Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to believe him, but fear screamed inside her. Still, when he reached out his hand, she found herself taking it. His grip was strong, steady, a lifeline in the storm. Elias slid an arm under her, lifting her gently until her feet brushed the ground. She trembled instantly, her legs shaking, unable to bear her weight. She whimpered, ready to collapse. But Elias's voice was there, solid as stone. "Don't look down, look at me. Just me." Her violet eyes met his, and for the first time she tried. Her body screamed, her legs wobbled, but she pushed against the earth. Slowly, shakily, she rose. She gasped, almost disbelieving. She was standing, weak, fragile, but standing. A sound caught her throat. A broken laugh mixed with sobs. I can..." Elias's lips curved in the faintest smile. "You can. You always could. You just needed someone to believe it." At that moment, voices rose outside the shelter. A crowd had gathered, dozens of aliens drawn by the rumors. They had come to see the human, to see the broken girl who defied the city's laws. Kara froze, fear rushing back. "They're here. They'll take me." Elias turned, placing himself between her and the door. His voice rang out clear and strong. "Then let them see." He stepped aside just enough for the crowd to look inside. Gasps spread like fire when they saw her. No longer crawling, no longer carried, but standing on her own two legs, supported by the human's hand. "She's walking." She was broken. How is this possible? Whispers rippled, but not all were cruel this time. Some were soft, almost reverent. For the first time, Kara was not an object of shame, but a symbol of something dangerous. Hope. Her heart trembled, but Elias's steady presence anchored her. He spoke loudly, his words for every alien outside. "You said she was worthless. You said no one should care. But look at her now. She stands because someone refused to let her be forgotten." The silence that followed was heavy. Some turned away, angry. Others lowered their eyes in shame. And a few, just a few, looked at Kara with something new in their gaze. Respect. Kara's body shook, but she held herself upright, clinging to Elias's hand. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered only for him to hear. "Because of you, I walk again." Elias squeezed her hand gently. "Because of you, I remember why humans fight." The dawn light spilled brighter through the doorway, casting them both in gold. The city outside remained cruel, dangerous, uncertain. But inside that moment, something had changed forever. Kara was no longer the forgotten girl. She was alive, seen, standing. And Elias Ward, the human who carried her, had lit a spark that no city rumor, no guard, no law could ever put out. It was not just her new dawn. It was theirs.